Okay, so we have our piece here that we're going to use for the phone holder. This is the demo setup for using the CNC on the Snapmaker 2.0. Just a quick rough idea on what we're dealing with here. We have 190 by 190 for the overall dimensions out that way, and this way we're looking at, let's see, that's right around 118 thou. I can't see it there, but with my cheap little calipers. Alright, so we have that. First thing I'm going to do is try to get an origin set up on the piece. That way we have an idea of where we're going to start and calibrate the machine from for the second step of getting this set up. Line there. It doesn't have to be exact, just a good idea of where we're gonna create our start point from. So we have center here marked for origin on our piece. Now we're gonna go ahead and go check out the board on the Snapmaker and get it centered out in there. Alright, so we're at the Snapmaker here. This is our work surface for the CNCing. I want to say something about my prior video I made a mistake on it. I said that this was the only orientation that you could use to put this in. There was something else that they were talking about in that picture when they had this in a different position. This is actually made for thicker pieces, obviously. As you go to a thicker piece, you would move this out. The main thing that you want to worry about is that the bottom of your M4x70 bolt here does not go through the bottom of the work surface. That way it cannot scratch anything underneath of it. That's all it was. So I did say that this was the only slot you can use. You can use the front, the middle, or the back. Just want to clear that up real quick. Sorry about that, but there are 3 different available areas to position this. I'm going to use the middle one for this. You just want to put your finger under the board, make sure it doesn't go all the way down, have your wing nut just a hair loose, it's going to come down with it. Then when you can just start to feel it, make sure that you have your workpiece right where you want it, give or take. I'm not going to be exact with this and waste a whole bunch of time measuring it out. I can visually see that it is within, you know, a good 32nd of an inch square overall on the platform. So I was going to go ahead and go with that. Tighten or loosen this guy up and get this tightened down here. One, two. Again, just make sure that, there you go, just start to feel it. Even though it's still recessed within the board, I would just be extra safe and not push the limits. It's a pretty nice machine. I don't want to damage it in any way. Just give these a double check here real quick and make sure they are down. Okay, so now that is set. Also, I've taken, you can see real lightly with the X that I've drawn, I have the origin that we have for the workpiece. I'm going to go ahead and get this turned on and calibrate it real quick. Alright, so we got everything going here. I'm just going to move that quick here, sorry. Get this kicked on, start it up, see how this goes for the first time turning it on with the CNC adapted to it. It does take a couple seconds to power on. This is what I say overall, I am really happy with the way that this machine has performed and the things that it's been able to do, especially for basically like an all-in-one. It's pretty efficient. Sometimes you don't always understand a new product when it first comes out, why it does what it does or how it does the things that it does, and that's why I'm trying to go over everything real quick and get an overview. just to show and share exactly how this thing does work, because I believe it's actually a really sweet machine. Okay, so safety instructions, age recommendation. They also advise to put the machine in the enclosure. I do not have the enclosure yet. Wear the goggles. Always have the workpiece securely clamped, so I'm definitely going to double check my clamping before we start. Do not touch the bit or collet during or right after operation. Obviously, it's going to be hot or you'll get cut. Always unplug the machine before performing maintenance or modifications. Correct. Okay, so with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Goggles. Fix the material to the MDF wasteboard using provided clamp kits. Okay. We have installed the bit as well. Awesome. You have successfully completed the initial setup for CNC carving. Now you can prepare the G-code file using Snapmaker Luban to start carving. Got it. Okay, so before we go to that, I'm just going to go ahead and swipe right here. We're going to go to the calibration tab. No calibration is needed for CNC. That's funny because that's not what I read. Control, let's go home. Alright, so there we go. Z offsets. I want to bring this over. Just double check exactly where our Z is at. Looks somewhere close to center, being way up there. I'm going to bring the board back. Somewhere roughly in that area. I'm going to move the camera real quick just to try to get a better overview on this, so sorry for that. But I'm going to try to be able to get everything all in one so you guys can see what I'm doing and what's going on. So I'm going to bring the Z-axis down. Alright, that's getting pretty close. I'm going to do that. Let's go down to 1 millimeter. Tap it. I'm going to go ahead and take it down to 1/10. Should be good there. I'm going to grab my card. Double check and make sure that's down. Alright. There we go there. That's exactly what we want. So now I'm going to bring it over here. I want to get that close to the center of the X as possible. Get in here and just get a quick look. Actually needs to come down and over. And that's about dead center. Get in here and show you. And you see the X really light. Right there. Okay, get out of there. So there is that. Now on the controller, I'm going to go ahead and hit the button right here on the bottom where it says set work origin. Boom. Now that has, as you can see right here on the side, everything is zeroed out. Tells you the true coordinates, but for the work coordinates, this is actually home for this particular part of it right here. So we're going to exit out. Move my fat hands out of the way. Okay, control. That's not what I want. Calibration. Needed settings. Alright, I'll just test this out real quick. Go back here and put this up here. Take this way out. Stop it. Alright, there. Just going to do some stuff to move it off center, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit where the hell did it go? It disappeared. I was going to see if it would go back to... Oh, there we go. That's what I was looking for. Okay, so go back to this screen, and I'm going to say go to work origin and see if it'll go back to where I put it. Boom. Okay, so that is complete. We have our origin set up. And the next thing is to go into the software and get the actual program set up. Okay. So here we are in the Snapmaker Luban. This is the 3.12.3 in software here. Now, in order to get this going for the CNC setup part of this, we have our workspace over here on the left. We have our G-code generator. We have our laser G-code generator, and then we're looking for the CNC G-code generator here. So we're going to want to click on this tab. This is the alpha feature, helps get started with CNC carving. Make sure you read the stuff first. Definitely read the stuff first. I already have, so I'm not going to put that up in here. I'm also going to click on don't show again. It's just really basic. So close that. We're going to go down here to case library. We're going to pull up our project here that we want. This is the CNC cut smartphone holder by Snapmaker. So we're going to load this into the program. I did say earlier that the overall dimensions of the workpiece were about 190 by 190, give or take a very small amount. So we're going to leave this here in the center, and to give it a safe perimeter for working, I'm going to start just a little bit by stretching this. That's not what I wanted. I want to stretch the whole thing. I guess I'm going to have to recenter it. Okay. Anyway, pull this out. So we're at 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 120, 130. There. I'm going to click on this and bring it back down. So it should be about 65, 65, 65 the whole way around for a measurement, give or take just a little bit. That looks not bad to me. So 190 overall. Split that up, we got 95 in each direction. I don't want to run this the whole way out, so I'm thinking if we say about 75, that should be safe enough to at least try and run a work parameter on. I think I'm actually going to go a little bit lower than that. Let's go with the 75, 75. Well, we're probably right around 72. That's about 74. Center it in. Boom. There. Okay. So we have this. We're going to take and come up here to process. And now we need to go over exactly how we are going to set this up, what tooling we are going to use to run with it, and our overall paths. Okay, so I did some additional measuring real quick, and if you go over here to the side, I'm sure that's just for this piece because it's got preset dimensions into it. If you go over to the size, it says enter size of the engraved picture. The size cannot be larger than 125 by 125 millimeters or the size of your material. So just because what it's saying here, we're going to go ahead and take a second and I'm going to do exactly what it says to see what will happen. Okay, so we have that done. Now when we go over here to our process, we want to make sure that we have our flat end mill, our carving path, we carve on the path, target depth overall, it says 3.2 millimeters. I'm going to verify that in a second. We want to step down at 0.4, jog height is at 5, stop height is at 10 millimeters. We are doing one print. The jog speed is at 300 millimeters per minute, work speed is at 400 millimeters per minute, and the plunge speed is also at 400 millimeters per minute. Now, I'm going to back up here real quick just because I noticed something. I know you guys are reading through your setup manual that came with the Snapmaker or not, but if you read on initial setup, the next page over is fix the material 5.2.1. It says the size of our provided model is 139.2 by 141.5 millimeters. Make sure the clamp set does not impede the movement of the CNC bit. So why it's saying this over here for the 125 by 125, I'm not exactly sure, but we're just going to go ahead and for entertainment's sake and not crashing the machine, go with what the software is saying for right now and leave it at that. Okay, so I did take a quick second also for some additional measurements and go over our target depth. Now preset here in software they have it set to 3.2 millimeters. I measured it with my calipers and it is 105 thousandths thick, which is also equivalent to 2.667 millimeters. So I am not going to go this deep. I am going to take it down to like 2.7 max just to clear it. If it happens to scratch the top of my work surface slightly, I don't mind, but I don't want to go chewing it up. I don't want deep gouges in it. So I'm going to set that to 2.7, step down 2.4, let's see, 0.4 goes into 2.8, that should be fine, and just clear the bottom of it. Okay, so we have everything set here in process. Now we go to generate G-code. Preview tool path successful. Alright, so we're going to what am I looking for? Workspace. We're going to need to connect to the machine. Sometimes this does not work exactly correct. I don't know why, but we'll get that set up and then we'll, oh, there we go. Ta-da. FPV. We will connect it. Now we need the authorization from the screen. We'll get that set up and we'll get the code set over here in a second. Okay, so here we are in our workspace. We have our model loaded up. We have our dimensions off over here. Everything is appearing to be good to go. So I'm going to head and send to device via Wi-Fi. Our file has been sent. So as far as software goes, we should be done here. Now we're going to go back to the device and we're going to run some boundary checks and make sure that everything is looking okay before we proceed. Okay, with the tooling head retracted a decent amount to make sure that it's not going to run into anything, I'm going to attempt to run the boundary real quick from the laptop and just see how much clearance room we have, if it looks good or not. Okay, that's how you run the boundary. So I'm going to take and I'm going to bring the Z down here. Let's see how we do this. Because when you're tuned into the laptop, you don't have to use the controls on the screen. This is just to be able to use it over Wi-Fi. I still have at least clearance for the end of the tip of the tooling to the top of these. I'm going to run the boundary again just to double check. Okay, so we're still good on that. I'm going to drop it down to about half the height again. You still have just a hair clearance for the actual tooling head itself. I'm going to run the boundaries again. Still looking good, like there's a lot of room. I'm going to take it and I'm going to bring it right down this time to the surface of the workpiece and double check it from there. Alright, we're literally right at pretty much Z0. We're at 0.2 millimeters above the workpiece. That's more than enough to see if we're actually going to be able to do this or not. So I'm going to run the boundary, check on this one last time just to ensure that we're not going to hit anything in our project here. And we are good. One thing I am going to say real quick though, I'm going to have to move this, so don't mind the camera moving, but I want to show you this. As much as we want to try to not have the bolts come through the bottom and scratch the surface over there. My next concern, really, I was watching this the whole time, is the clearance here. So we're coming down a few millimeters. That looked like it was good where it was at. There was maybe 3 millimeters space. We do have this coming down 3 millimeters. I am going to take and drop that threading on that support right there, on these back two, because they look kind of close. At least another 5 to 6 turns, full turns, to make sure that we have clearance before we start the program. Alright, so we're going to give this a try. The original model / G-code, whatever, has already been loaded into this. It's been sent. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up this. I'm going to disconnect from the software. Go to my files, CNC test A350, and then some code 54775002. That doesn't really matter. We're going to touch on this. There's what we are going to be creating. So before I hit ready or anything, I'm going to move out of the way of this thing because I have never done this before. I don't know exactly what it's going to do. I'm going to hit the ready button. It says make sure you have your goggles on. I'm going to hit next. And I'm going to hit start. Look at it go. Haha! That is sweet. Now I'm really glad that I got this. 4% done already. And it's making a decent amount of mess. Chips flying everywhere. I just can't wait for the rotary tool to come out. I have the mill, now I just need the lathe. Okay, so that was quite interesting. We had the small piece right here that was on the side actually come out, and it was stuck around the tool. That's what that noise was when it was going. I wasn't too sure if it had just incredibly sped up the feed rate or what exactly was going on. It did pull it out, and then when it went down, it was traveling around the bit. It raised back up and it flung off and hit the wall. I'm not too sure why that did that exactly, but our first piece is done. Here's one of the arms for it here. This one had moved prematurely. We didn't really get a chance to get this area right here fully cut down. Just a little bit there, but now we have that out. The other piece, here, dust it off a little bit. This one came out pretty good. Nice, sharp, precise edges on it. This thing does make a mess. There are pieces of this crap everywhere. I mean, it's on the screen, it's on the wall, it's on everything. So my next thing is, I just want to see real quick, based on my guesstimation on the 0.37, exactly how far I managed to go down into the work surface. I do see a little tiny bit of brown. You can also feel it just like a fingernail's amount there. I didn't really want to scratch it up much, but I knew that you have to go through it in order to be able to get the full penetration for it. Something I'm going to look into getting for the corners, at least when I do this in the future, is just maybe a couple little brackets, or not brackets, but spacers. You get some thin material, maybe coat it, plastic coat it, rubber coat it, or whatever, to alleviate any vibration. Make sure they are perfectly symmetrical and parallel. Also, even the whole way through. I can't think of the exact term I'm thinking of right now. Perpendicular is more along the lines of it. And then bring the work piece up off the work surface. That way you can achieve full penetration through it without actually damaging your work surface here. I'm going to pull up the original piece. Just give this a quick little tap off there. This dusty crap, this is everywhere. This is going to take a minute to clean up. But we have this out. I'm just going to come over here. Finger lightly over here, touch this off. There may be a minor bit of imperfection in the overall thickness of the board. I possibly maybe not have had a screw seated down entirely. You can see over here in the back left hand corner, high on the y-axis, I have no scratching at all whatsoever. It does go in more towards the high on the X, so here it tapers down and goes in. There is minimal carving into it. Like I said, I knew this was going to happen. That's not bad. I'm fine with that, but I am definitely going to work on, in the future at least, working on getting some spacers to go under the work piece between that and the work surface. That way I can eliminate the amount of damage to the work surface. The two pieces lock in like this. I should have seen that. And then this part right here is supposed to, oh man, I broke it. Stuff is kind of cheap. supposed to hold the tabs together like so and fit in there. So you cannot apply a lot of force to this. This is not put up with that. So I did manage to break the first piece. Oops. That's unfortunate. But just so you know, this stuff is extremely brittle, so be careful with it when you're using it. And this is the overall first piece for the basic model within the Lubin Snapmaker programming of how to set it up and how to run it. I hope you guys like this. We'll have another video up soon, and stay tuned. Thanks for watching.